oh man, I'm excited for this conversation because I feel like quitting things has such a negative connotation in our society.
It does, doesn't it? It's like, oh, you're a quitter. Oh my God.
Welcome to Wandering Weirdly, a podcast for curious adventurers, joyful rebels, and multi-passionate wanderers of every kind.
We're Annie and Thomas, friends exploring the messy magic of life and following curiosity wherever it leads.
Every episode is a journey through creativity, self-discovery, and the wonderfully tangled map of being a human.
Wandering Weirdly is a part of the Bold Departure Network, podcast for those craving an authentic and unconventional life on their own terms.
Welcome to another episode of Wandering Weirdly. I'm Annie Slade.
I'm Thomas Butel.
And today we are going to talk about being a quitter.
Quitting.
This is, oh man, I'm excited for this conversation because I feel like quitting things has such a negative connotation in our society.
It does, doesn't it? It's like, oh, you're a quitter. Oh my God. But sometimes you have to quit something. You have to quit what, it's like there are many, many different reasons.
Well, yeah, I mean, imagine if you were still doing everything you ever started in your whole life. Like, that is totally unrealistic. Things run their course. I mean, I know, I'm sure you heard the same things when you were a kid. Like, there's a balance between, right, like seeing things through and making commitments and that sort of thing. But we can't keep doing everything we ever start forever. That's ridiculous. So let's talk about it. How do we decide when it's time to quit? How do we know what to quit?
Yeah, I think sometimes also it's just a matter of definitions, defining when do you get enough from something, right? When do you get enough? I like to call it nourishment, but it's really, when did you derive enough from what it is that you are working on, and at what point do you say, oh, that's actually pretty good, even though I didn't finish it or I didn't see it all the way through, but it was enough. So it's time to quit that one and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I feel like, as multi-passionate humans, I felt a lot of shame about this for years, right? Like, we get a new interest and we're super excited about it. And like, this is the thing, I'm going to do this forever. And surprise, we do not do this thing forever. We reach that place and, where I wouldn't want to tell anybody that like, oh, but I don't want to do this anymore. I want to quit. And it would take me a long time to like admit it to myself and then certainly to other people. But I think you were talking about this idea of nourishment and think about it, and like that just sparked an idea of like, yeah, think about it as a meal. I mean, you don't go on eating forever, right? Like that would be gluttonous and then you're miserable and all of that. So there has to be that point where you're satiated and you've had enough. So what does that feel like for you when in your creative projects or, other things that you've done? What do you have any kind of markers that kind of let you know, oh, I think I've had enough?
I don't know whether I don't know if it's about markers per se. For me, I changed the definition of completion, right? I actually think of completion differently now. And this was sort of the big revelation for me when I learned about multi-potentiality, being multi-passionate. So it used to be, I would say, oh, okay, I'm starting a project and, oh, okay, now I just started another one and I started another one and I have this, long list of projects that I've started but never finished, right? Now, when I start a project, that is a completion in itself. I know it sounds strange, right? But my definition is I start something and I get something from it. It doesn't matter if I finish it. There are many projects that I do finish, by the way, so it's not like I'm,
You're
it's
not
not
that
like I'm
flighty.
not finishing. Yeah, I'm not that flighty, but I now sort of tell myself, I sort of recognize, oh, this is enough. This is all that I needed. I wanted to start this and I wanted to find something out. And maybe I didn't know what I was going to find out at the beginning. But I get to a certain point, just to answer your question here, I get to a certain point and say, oh, okay, that's good. That's all I needed.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm curious about this because do you start with an idea of completion in mind? Because I know for myself, it takes me, I have to sit with it for a minute because there is this tendency, right, for us to quit when we kind of hit that wall of discomfort, or like where we're gonna ooh, this is uncomfortable, do I want to keep going? Or so for me, I really kind of have to like sit with it for a minute and ask myself those questions to see is this really just I don't want to push my comfort zone anymore, or have I really kind of reached whatever completion looks like for me. And sometimes it takes a minute to like tease that out. But so do you start with an idea of what completion would look like when you begin something, or do you just kind of let that reveal itself as you go?
I always tend to think big. I tend to dream big, I should say. And what you're alluding to is how much discomfort are you willing to take in pursuit of something, right? I think I've grown over time. I think I'm willing to suffer more discomfort than I have before, because I recognize everything that when you read about creative people and you read about how they get to something, it's just they put a ton of work into it, right? They put a ton of time into it. And that means also going through a lot of discomfort. So I recognize it's like, oh yeah, I should head toward the discomfort because that's going to get me somewhere. But, there are ways to manage the discomfort. That's what I've learned.
For sure.
And so one way to do it is to like switch it up. Like, I'm going to work on something and then, oh, okay, I'm really feeling, the discomfort now, and I feel kind of blocked. I don't know what I need right now. I don't know how to get beyond the discomfort. I don't know how to get beyond my limitations, whatever. So I'm going to work on this project over here because this one might be a little easier, but maybe this one's more just about assembly or, about pure production, and I know how to do that. And then the next day I come back and say, okay, I'm going to give this another crack at it and see how that goes. Right now I'm working on short story fiction, and it's new to me, and it's been very discomforting. It's been very uncomfortable. And so I have been doing that, sort of going back and forth between projects. That is very helpful. So how about you? How do you sit with discomfort, and how do you decide, okay, this is too uncomfortable, I'm going to quit, or I'm just going to delay it?
I think part of it for me is I kind of go into everything I've learned through this same process to kind of go into everything as an experiment. Like you, I have big ideas, big dreams, like unrealistic sometimes.
Oh yeah,
for sure. And so a lot of it, especially something new, like example, I'm in the process of writing a book, right? Like I have a first draft. Amazing. Okay, I know how to put words on a page.
Fantastic.
That is huge. And now, editing. Let me tell you how much I have been avoiding this, because it's part of the process that I know how to edit small things, like I send a newsletter, whatever. But this is a totally different monster. And so one of my favorite books about creativity is Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic.
Yeah.
And
mine too.
Yeah. Fantastic. We can link to that in show notes. But one of the things that I think about is she talks about the shit sandwich, that like no matter what it is that you want to do, if you really want it, there's gonna be a shit sandwich you have to eat. There's gonna be something that you don't like that's really hard to deal with. And so a lot of it for me is really thinking about how much I want the outcome. Because a lot of times, especially with these big ideas, I go into it only seeing the outcome that I want and not really understanding what is required to go from where I am now to the outcome. Writing a book is one of these things where it's like, I've thought about writing books for ages and I have a very long queue of books to write. But so this first one is like, I need to go through this process though and see, I love the idea of it. Do I actually like the reality of it, of what it's going to take to go from here to there? So when I hit that kind of edge of like, this is really uncomfortable. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not sure I want to keep going. For me, it's really, how much do I want that outcome? How much do I care about getting that thing that's on the other side of what feels like this mountain of obstacles, discomfort, learning curve, whatever. So that's a lot of it for me, is just kind of, do I care enough about the outcome to keep going through the stuff that is less enjoyable, right? And very uncomfortable. So like with writing the book, yes, the answer is yes, I do care enough to keep going. So that means I got to figure out this whole editing thing. But then there's plenty of other things where I'm like, oh, no, I love the idea of the outcome, but the reality of getting from here to there, I have discovered through the process, I don't really want it that much, because the in-between stuff I'm not really into. And so that is usually where I can give myself that permission to like, okay, cool. I learned what I needed to learn, which a lot of times is that, I don't really want it that much. And so now I can quit. Cool. I got the information. Part of what was really challenging for me in the beginning, and sometimes it still comes up, is that feeling of wasting time. That like, but I've I'm putting this in air quotes. I've wasted all of this time and energy on a thing that's now going to be nothing, right? That I'm setting it aside. I'm chucking it in the trash can, the end. So for a long time that was, would kind of rattle around my brain. Some of that shame, some of those negative self-talk things. And what I've discovered over the years, now that I have a few of them under my belt, is that it's never wasted. And I'm sure you will agree that like it's never wasted, because whatever I learned something that it's going to apply to the next project, to something entirely unrelated even, but none of it's wasted, because there's going to be some lesson, some insight, some bit that will carry forward. And I'm often surprised by how it shows up, in random situations or other projects where I'm like, oh, this is somehow related to this other thing that I quit, but I learned an important piece that's going to help me get through this one.
It's really important to embody that redefinition, I think. To embody that redefinition that says, no, you didn't waste time. It was actually really, really useful. Because whatever you do when you're going down any path, any rabbit hole, any new project, whatever, you're going to be learning something, both about what it is that you're working on and about yourself, So it's all valuable. And it's really liberating to embody that change in mindset.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I know I've thought, and at some point in the future, maybe I will. I want to create some merch, I want a sticker, I want a t-shirt that's like, I'm a quitter. Yes. You know what? I own it. I quit things all the time because I don't have to do things that I don't enjoy. I don't have to continue slogging through muck that isn't serving me. And I just want, when I encounter people who are struggling with this thing, I just, that's like the best gift I can give is like, no, you have permission to quit. You do not have to see this through. Yeah. How did you arrive at that place where you were able to like give yourself that permission to like, you know what? Can you think of, like, is there a particular project that stands out or something? Was there like some moment or shift where you just went, you know what? It's okay. I'm allowed to quit.
It was reading Barbara Sher's book, Refuse to Choose. That had a big impact on my thinking about all of this, because she writes about people who, like us, who have so many different interests and pursuits and start so many things and don't necessarily finish a lot of things, and she just comes right out and says, it's all valuable. And that's when I took it to heart, and then I just started I actually even created a practice for myself. I created a completion diary. And the completion diary is basically every day when I do something, I write it down, and I actually got a little rubber stamp that says completed. And so it totally rewired my brain to think of completion in a totally different way. And what's implicit in that completion diary is a whole bunch of things that I've started and quitted. Right? Maybe I should get a quitted stamp, or quit, I quit, and stamp that in the book too, just to reinforce the idea that there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with quitting.
I love that idea of a completion diary. That I finished this thing, even if it's, so do you do that even for just like a small piece of a project, that I completed this step. I completed, I wrote the draft, I wrote a paragraph, I wrote a thing, or whatever whatever the project is. I really love that idea. I think that's really fun, because we do complete so much.
I think I've been doing it for almost 4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff in there.
I bet you do, because we always think of completion as like this, the whole big thing.
Yeah.
And we often forget about each small step along the way is also this is why I love Asana. I mean, because I'm a nerd, I manage my life in project management software. It's fine. But I love being able to check that box that yes, task completed. I did that thing.
And move it over to the done column.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you have to be a little bit careful sometimes with the definition. I mean, that's why it was such a liberation for me to be able to redefine what completion is and what quitting is and what this all is. It's all learning, really. It's all of a piece, I guess. We tend to break all these things down into sort of separate silos and say, well, this is not quite complete yet, and this one's complete but not quite, or whatever. And the truth is that, I guess the way I'm going to say it is that life is infinite. It's infinite within your life, and there really is no completing. It's only moving on to the next thing.
100%.
And if quitting is part of it, well, quitting is a part of it. That's the whole point. You have to quit to move on to the next thing.
Absolutely. I love, this is so cheesy, but I think, I don't know why, because I was a teenager in the 90s. I blame it on this. But there's this line in that super cheesy, that closing time song. I think it's semisonic, something like that. Anyway, but there's that line that sticks in my brain that every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Yeah. That it's in order to start something new, something else ends. It doesn't matter what it is, but yes, that the starting is also the completion of something else, some cycle, some moment, some whatever, but that you can't have the beginning without something being completed.
I agree. Well, what else can we say about quitting?
I think maybe the best thing we can do is I would love to offer just words of encouragement for people who do struggle with the letting go of something. Like, I have a friend who, one of the things that I remind her regularly is you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed. just because you decided something once does not mean that you have to carry that thing forward forever and ever. That you're allowed to gather new information, you're allowed to learn new things, and then you're allowed to like let it go. So if you are one of those humans who really kind of struggles with that shame that we are ingrained with around quitting, consider this your permission slip. You're allowed to quit. You're allowed to quit relationships. You're allowed to quit projects. You're allowed to quit jobs. You're allowed to quit whatever. You're allowed to quit your own, thought processes or beliefs or whatever it is that you feel that struggle around letting go. I think it's important to also acknowledge that when we quit, when we let something go, we also make room for something else.
Mm-hmm.
If we're too full, if we're holding on to all the things all the time, the next step can't really get to us, right? Like we already have too much. So yeah, if you're ready for something new, I was actually at a conference last week, and one of the things in a session that I really enjoyed, he was talking about, he called it the creativity cube. We can get into this in an entirely different episode, but one of the things that his rule was, every time you start a new project, you have to quit too. You have to quit the easiest one to quit, and then you also have to quit the hardest. I know. And I was like, ooh, challenge accepted. I'm not sure that's going to be an interesting one, but I really loved that like, yeah, you have to make room for the new thing. Otherwise nothing gets done. So
I would also say to add to all of that, acknowledge that what you're quitting was useful and you got something from it.
Absolutely.
Don't criticize yourself, or don't, put yourself down for having started something and not finishing it, because you got something from it. And when you can acknowledge that, you change your view, your mindset about how things work in the world and how you grow as a person.
Absolutely. And so, I don't know about you, but I am a journaler, 100%. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I do this every season, but I think it's something I may even implement with each project, that like when you decide to quit something, maybe just take 5 minutes and write down, what did I learn from this? What did I actually get from this? Mm-hmm. So that you have it there in black and white too, that you can acknowledge that like, yep, here are the things that I learned about myself, about creativity, about whatever it is, so that, it's not that it was wasted. Here, you literally have a list of what you got from the time you spent on it.
It was yummy.
Yeah, great. Right? So I love that. Yeah.
Well, Annie,
shall we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for another episode of Wandering Weirdly, and we hope to see you back here next time.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Wandering Weirdly.
You can find show notes and past episodes at wanderingweirdly.com.
We'd love for you to connect with us.
You can leave a comment on our YouTube videos or find us individually on our websites.
Follow along with my creative projects at thomasbutel.art.
And come over and have an adventure with me at explorerannie.com.
Tune in next time for another wild and wandering exploration.
And don't forget to check out bolddeparturenetwork.com for more podcasts about authentic and unconventional life.